Pro Wrestling Junkies, welcome. We come to you once a month. We try to give you an interview with somebody who is in the independent circuit, somebody that we can put on a platform so we can get some of these independent wrestlers. Hopefully, promoters will see them. Promoters will be able to, use them. All we want to do is help support independent pro wrestling. Well, without further ado, I'd like to bring on my co-host, Andy O.
What's going on?
What's going on, old man? How you doing?
Oh, enjoying my rainy Sunday.
Rainy Sunday. Oh, okay. All right. Well, are you ready to get into this?
Yes. Always ready.
Okay.
What kind of question was that?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has 24 years of professional wrestling experience. I'd like to bring on, it is my proud pleasure to bring on Chance Prophet.
There is always another fight. Is there something that we need to stay right up? Is there something that we really need? In this fight, there will only be losers. And this city is too hard for me to I'm going underground.
Chance, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not much.
That's all I
Mike
can
Light. I have seen you wrestle for quite some time. The only place I can get your matches is on YouTube, so
Yeah.
I'm in Georgia. I'm not in West Virginia or wherever. All over. You wrestle all over the place.
Yeah. I try to stay away from the hub of West Virginia, but yeah. I need to make it down to Georgia soon. It's been a while.
We would love to have you down to Georgia. Promoters in Georgia. Book this man. Come on now.
Yeah, let's go. I'm a Wildside guy. I used to wrestle for NWA Wildside back in the day.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Along with Phil Shatter and those guys.
Yeah, Michael Judas and all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Phil is actually, he goes by Gunner now. Gunner's actually a friend of mine.
Yeah, we go way back, man.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I wanted to bring up is you've been in this business for 24 years, right?
Yeah.
And I have to write down a few of the titles you have held. And I got to say, my gosh, that is a lot of titles.
Yeah, I've been blessed, dude. I've been I don't know, like maybe people like the face paint, but like yeah, I've been in a lot of different territories and had a lot of titles. Held some like really cool titles that like made me mark out as not just as a wrestler but as a fan. Been really.
You mean that one right there?
That one especially.
That one is actually signed by Gunner.
Hey,
if you ever make it down to Georgia, man, I gotta have you sign it.
I'll hook you up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go through some of the titles you have won. And, VOW heavyweight title, the Ring Warriors Bahama heavyweight title, Remix Pro Championship 2 times, NWA National Heavyweight Champion 2 times, NWA Bluegrass 2 times, MPW MX title,
Mm-hmm.
MPW heavyweight champion, IWA East Coast tag champions,
Mm-hmm.
HWA heavyweight champion, Dog heavyweight champion, ASW heavyweight champion, APWA World Super Champion, and APWA World Heavyweight Champion. My Lord, that is a lot of titles to accomplish. What, I guess my first question is, what was the toughest match that you've ever had to hold to get a title?
To get one, probably whenever I got the national title for the second time against Gunner, just because I had to travel, had to drive 8 hours to get there, and then like some stuff went down during the match to where it was just like one of the rougher experiences. Like I'm a real bad asthmatic, so stuff happened in the middle of the match, so I had to get my breathing under control and get everything back under right conditions, and then like to end up eking that win out over Phil Shatter Gunner. That's probably one of the toughest ones.
Well, what you unseated him for a 2-year reign.
Yeah,
that's an accomplishment right there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I talked to Gunner, on occasion, and he's a really, really great dude.
Yeah.
I guess my next question is this: I've seen you in a couple of cage matches. They got pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
One of them was with Facade.
Mm-hmm.
I believe is his name.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that match? I mean, that match is on YouTube. I mean, it got there.
Yeah, we were in the middle of a feud, and that's the only way they saw fit to keep my minions, the rest of the anti-heroes out of the cage, and to keep it fair. Facade kept like trying, and he thought he was going to win on that one too. Probably one of the meanest cage matches I've been in. I've probably been in about 15 or more over my career, but sometimes you got to think everything has to be covered in your match, and Facade, his dreads came into play. I hung him from the top of the cage by his dreads at one point, which was one of the craziest things I've ever done to somebody. But that was one of the best matches that I've been a part of. I think I walked away still holding the title on that one. He took some of my DNA with me. Like I had a cut across my bicep. I had cut across here. Busted my tongue open. Yeah, had his little fingerprints all over my chest too. So.
Oh man. Now I gotta ask. And I'm going to put this in a certain context. How does your family feel when you come home with, bloody?
Well, when it's my boys are old enough to where they're just like, oh, Dad's beat up again, and they just kind of walk off. But when my girls see me, I've got 2 young girls, and when they see me, they're like, oh, Daddy, you have boo-boos. I need to take care of you. And my wife's like, yeah, Daddy's got boo-boos, and he also has to go take care of the chores around the house too, because it doesn't stop just because I go and wrestle. So it's a cool dynamic that keeps you grounded.
Well, okay. Here's a question for you. Here's a good one. How did you come up with such a character?
the character came from like a couple of different places. One, and it's like one of the weirder parts of it to most people is like I used to be in a drama team during church, and I always played the part of the devil, so I always had to look a little bit meaner than everybody else. So they would have me do this crazy face paint, and whenever I started pro wrestling, I was like, well, let's see if I can incorporate this into it. And I started doing my own little stuff to it. And then I was always a real big fan of comic books. Loved the Joker, loved Venom. So I wanted to try to make the visage as close as possible without just completely ripping the characters off.
Mm-hmm.
But and just me being weird and out there is just, I've always been weird and out there. So
Now, does anybody ever compare you? I mean, nowadays, obviously, you've been around a long time, and you know whether or not you've been in some of the bigger companies. Does anybody ever see your character and try to think that you're like ripping off somebody like Darby Allin? I mean, it seems like you've been doing it a lot longer before, like a person like his character made it viral.
Yeah, I've been getting that a lot, like since Darby started hitting the mainstream. I always just tell him I could probably be Darby's dad, or at least his young uncle. I always used to get random people will be like, "Oh, you look like Sting." I'm like, "I look nothing like Sting, but I appreciate it because he's a good wrestler."
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some stuff with an Impact Wrestling talent, Crazy Steve, where we had a little bit of a disagreement because we started looking a little bit too close.
Mm-hmm.
But it's happened over the years countless times, and even when Finn Balor started doing when he was still Prince Devitt over in New Japan, he hit me up a couple of times because we go back. He was a part of NWA for a while too, with NWA Hammerlock and NWA Ireland. He hit me up and talked about how cool my face paint looked. I said, that's really awesome. And then all of a sudden I look and see he's doing Venom stuff too. And I was like, dude, yours completely tops mine. He's like, well, you paint yours. I have people help me with mine. So,
I mean, at first glance, when I saw your face paint, I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like some of the heavier metal bands, but I got a vibe of like, you know, obviously we see Darby Allin, but mixed with like a band called Mushroomhead, and they're notorious for doing those crazy style, you know, multiple colors on their face and stuff like that. So, but obviously, like I said, in the wrestling world, you seem like you've been doing it a lot more before a lot of these. Other than, I mean, I don't know if I would really compare it with Sting, but you know what I mean. As far as like going the detail that you do, it seems like you've been doing it a lot longer than some of these other guys that haven't been maybe around as much longer because they're in the mainstream and they're just kind of out there now, you know.
Yeah, it's really crazy, like just to see the comparisons, but like there's some comparisons that I thoroughly enjoy when people say like, you look really mean, but you look like a mean doink. I'm like, do you really know how mean Doink was? Like, Doink was insane.
I heard Matt was mean.
Yeah. If you go back and watch Matt Bourne when he first started, and watch go back and watch the what is it, Dark Side of the Ring. That'll open your eyes to how mean that guy was in the ring, like beyond even the stuff in his personal life.
Now, do you watch like WWE or watch AEW these days?
Yeah.
Or?
I try to watch as much as I can of like everything out there, be it New Japan, Noah, WWE, and AEW. The hardest one for me to keep up with is Impact, but I still try to keep up with them too because they've got a really great product too. I really like Major League Wrestling too because they've got a really solid roster.
Oh, MLW! I absolutely love MLW.
Yeah.
And I watch New Japan, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the app. So.
Yeah.
I guess my next question is this: you've wrestled a couple of well-known talents that have gone on.
Yeah.
A couple of them are AJ Styles, Abyss, Now, did you ever wrestle CM Punk?
No, I never got to. I crossed paths with him when he first came to TNA because I was trying to get a job there when they were NWA TNA. Ran into him a couple times there, and then the incident with the White Trash Cafe and Teddy Hart happened, so then he was gone any other time I was down there. And then WWE was eyeing me and brought me in for like 8 different tryouts, and that was about the time when Punk had the World Heavyweight title. And I got to like say a short little snippet to him, and he just like nodded his head and kind of just went on. So no big real interactions with Punk. I wish I would have got the chance to work with him though.
Who else have you wrestled? Anybody, you know? I know you wrestled Tokyo Kahigas.
Yeah.
My God, that seemed like, you know, y'all were just beating the snot out of each other.
Yeah, that was a war from the get-go. Howard Brody had brought us in. Howard was really, really good to me. He respected the title and respected what I was trying to do with it. He brought us in, and we just went ham on each other from that night on. And they were just like, "Man, you guys are going crazy and beating each other up like you're Kevin Sullivan and Dusty Rhodes down here." Because that's one of the armories that we were in. They had one of their bitter wars in there, so it was really cool. I wrestled a lot of guys from WWE and Ring of Honor. Nigel McGuinness and we wrestled a couple times.
Man.
Gold Dust. There's a long list. I've wrestled a lot of guys. Of course, after 24 years, it's hard to remember. I wrestled with Tommy Dreamer a couple times. Tommy's awesome. Always puts me to the test. Let me think. Tom Pritchard. That's like getting in because he doesn't wrestle anymore. But it's just like most people wouldn't pair me with a Tom Pritchard. I got to wrestle a lot of old school guys when I first broke in, like Bobby Eaton, Ricky Morton. Especially like if they came through Mid-South or Smoky Mountain, I got to wrestle them. Tracy Smothers, one of the toughest men I've ever met in my life. Barbarian, man, there's a lot. I'm starting to show my age too.
I bet I'm older than you.
I'm 43 now. 43.
I'm fixing to be 54.
Oh, you're carrying it good.
I try. Now here's a good question for you. Okay. How do you prepare for a person if they have a different style of wrestling? How, like, let's say, okay, Tommy Dreamer has an extreme style.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare for that?
I try to treat it as if I was. I have a good sports background. Played baseball, basketball, football. Wrestled in high school too. So thankfully, like my coaches always made us study tape on whoever we were going against. So I just treat it the same way. I study and watch and see what they do. See what possibly they would do in the ring. See what they would pull out if this situation like it. So prepare for a cage match is a different animal. You just got to try to make sure you use the environment to its fullest. And then you have like matches like I just wrestled Eddie Edwards a couple of months ago, and that's a completely different beast altogether because strong style, working TV all the time. And then you'll get in there with like a Ricky Morton, and it's just completely old school. So tape, studying tape or studying YouTube videos.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do I ever plan my matches to the extent Macho did? No, but I did have a guy in a casket match walk up to me and hand me like a 10-page script. And I literally looked at that and said, no, and threw it away. And like the people that I don't know. I mean, some people can make that work, and I do work with people that like to plan their stuff out sometimes to that extent. But if you hand me a script, I'm gonna like, no, give me bullet points. I've been hitting the head too many times.
Well, you and I have something in common. We both studied at Full Sail University.
Yeah, that's where I got my master's.
Yeah, I studied graphic design. And,
Me too.
I didn't make it. I didn't graduate.
I graduated salutatorian.
Well, there you go. I mean, you know, that's something I'm proud of.
I'll peacock on that one because it's expensive.
Yeah, the school was expensive. I'm still reeling from it.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Now, you were on a wrestling school, or do you?
Yes, sir.
Or do you own the wrestling school?
Both. I run. I'm owner and head coach there. I've got a couple trainers with me, Jason Kincaid and Casey King. Do a great job. We've got about anywhere from around 15 that come. It's varied in how many actually show up a lot of the time, just because a lot of these guys and girls are getting off their main job and sometimes they can't make it. But I've got a core group that are there every time, and they're really pushing themselves hard. It's called the Power Slam Academy.
Okay, I think we have I think we've got something on that.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the area and you're interested, please feel free to use their website to contact them. They could contact you through the website, right?
Yeah, they contact me there, or they can contact on our Facebook or Instagram. We've got Twitter as well, but it's less. There's less traffic on there than Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, folks. You know, if you're interested in, don't play the part, learn the art, be a professional wrestler. Check out Power Slam Academy. And with a gentleman that has 24 years, I think they're in good hands.
Between me, Jason, and Casey, I think it's let me see. Jason's at 22 years too, so 46, and then Casey has like 7 years, so over 50 years of experience between us. And then we have random people do guest training. We have seminars. Tom Pritchard comes and does a mini camp. It's really good, really good.
Well, you know, I am such a fan of this man. I gotta show my Chance doll off.
Hey, that looks awesome. Looky there.
I made him out of a G.I. Joe. Face painted him and everything.
That looks awesome.
It's not like 100% accurate though.
Well, I think it's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Andy, do you got any questions for Chance?
Actually, I do. So I hear, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I was told that you are or just became a minister, if I'm correct?
Yeah. I've been
now,
ordained for 3 years. Yeah.
Now, how does that, I mean, obviously you seem like you're very religious too, so how does that, or I guess, what brought you to want to become a minister, I guess, and how does that affect your back and forth, like, between that and wrestling? Like, how does that, if it does, I mean.
It doesn't really affect it that much. I've been a Christian since I was 12 years old, and my faith's come into play in the locker room a lot more than what people would think it would. Because you got to remember, everybody back there is a human being, and everybody's got problems. And if someone knows that you have faith in a higher power that they don't know, you'd be surprised at the people that come up to you. And now it's caused some issues with some people just because they don't believe. But it's lent itself to a couple of sermons. I'll tell you that. Just because life is weird, and the life of a wrestler is weird too. But just to see like how God can work in such a weird business that wrestling is really, really cool.
Let's see. I do have another question for you as well. If you had to go back and change anything in your last 20 years, whether it be, whatever promotion that you were in, would you change anything? And if so, what would it be?
I probably would have back in I think it was 06. I was getting shots with Ring of Honor, and I probably would have ridden by myself a lot more and not brought people along with me, because like sometimes you can just get lost in the crowd, and when you're really trying to make a name for yourself and you're really trying to put your best stuff forward, you got to make sure you're focused. You got to make sure that you are dead set. That's another way. It's weird being a pastor and being a wrestler too, because you're all the time trying to think of everyone else, how you can help people. But in wrestling, you got to think of number one if you're trying to get a job, because everybody else is out for that same job too. So if I would have been a little bit more selfish when those opportunities came up, but yeah, other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. Lots of stuff was dangled in front of me. I was supposed to have a 6-month contract with WWE. It never played out for whatever happened, for whatever reason. I waited for it. Never heard from them after that. So, yeah, it's been a good ride.
Well,
HBK
he found the Lord, but that just fascinates me that you're a minister, but your character is just like the polar opposite of that. It has that mystique to it. Now, would you characterize your character as a heel or a face?
If I would look at me from the outside, I would definitely say that I'm a heel. But most promoters, they want to paint me as a baby face. And I'm like, really, with all these teeth and how mean I am? But I would paint myself as a heel. But as certain promoters have said, the kids like the zombies. I'm just like, not exactly a zombie, but okay, man.
Well, I mean, you could go that anti-hero type of vibe as well. I mean, you know your character more than I do, in all honesty. But I saw a particular picture of you sitting down with a young man in the bleachers after the matches, and apparently you were ministering to him. And this guy is 100% real. So I gotta give you your props for that. Really, I do.
Like, that's generally how it happens too. Like, I'll think that the day's done and people will come and talk to me, and then like out of the blue, someone will be like, "Hey, I need you to talk to so and so. They're having real bad issues. The child that you were talking about in that picture, he literally had just lost his mother and father in the same week.
Oh,
so, and he was there at wrestling, and wrestling was giving him a break, and he needed to know that there was hope outside of that. So we just got to talk and got to pray. It was really cool.
Well, a lot of people who downplay professional wrestling, they say it's not real. It's predetermined, but the injuries are real. The thing they don't realize, and a lot of people don't realize this, is number one, it gives you a chance to suspend your disbelief for a little while.
Yeah.
Number two, it tells a story in the ring. Off topic, I saw a match last night, as a matter of fact, Money in the Bank. The Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. That told a story in the squared circle and outside the squared circle. And,
some of the best storytelling I've seen in a long time.
Well, I told somebody, I said I would put that match right up there with Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had a very good flow of storytelling to it. And that's something I always look for. And while I'm thinking about it, who are your favorite wrestlers?
My favorites, and it you can kind of see the direction I would that led me to go to being who Chance Prophet is. Great Muda, Vampiro. Love the Legion of Doom coming up. Trying to think who else. I was really heavily influenced by Muda more than anybody, and everybody's like, "Oh, why didn't you go gravitate towards Sting?" And I was like, "Well, Sting was a baby face, and he was just clean cut and straight through and through." But you could see that Muda had technique, but he also just chose to be more vicious. And the same thing can be said for Vampiro. Vampiro just one of those unconditional guys that just go out there and lay it all out there. I like Kurt Angle and Dean Malenko coming up as well. That's complete opposite spectrum, but those were the guys that really made me tune in.
I've always wanted to know how in the world Muda could be in the ring, Muda could be wrestling, and he sprays one color, green, let's say green, and then like 10 minutes later he's spraying red. And I'm like, now how did he do that? I didn't see the pop in the mouth. I didn't see how he did that.
Yeah, I know the secrets, but I cannot tell.
This is like the mafia.
Being how elaborate, like with your character is, and how elaborate, like I've seen some of your photos of the face paint. How much prep time is involved to prepare that? Especially if you're doing it yourself,
Yeah, everyone thinks that I have someone that helps me. It's just all me, and I joke around with my mom and tell her like, "This is what my degree paid for," but. It varies. If the locker room is really busy, someone like there's at least one or two that want to sit around and watch me do it, or if I'm agenting and helping produce, sometimes it'll take a little bit longer. But if it's just I can get by myself and paint. I can do it usually in about 25-30 minutes.
Now, have you ever gotten to a show to get ready, like for prep, and realized that you didn't have something, like maybe you're missing a color and had to improvise of some sort? Like, have everything you needed.
A couple of fair shows that ended up like that. I only ended up having black face paint, so I just went straight crazy lines and weird stuff, and I got more weird reactions from that than I did when I have like full palette. It was crazy.
Now, I've got to ask you because Andy and of course are WWE guys. I grew up in the NWA, so I'm pretty much so knowledgeable regarding the NWA. I mean, that's Georgia heavyweight title, and that's a Mid-Atlantic title. So,
yeah.
I guess my question is, did you wrestle under the NWA when it was owned by Bruce Tharp, or did you? Because I know Bruce Tharp sold it to Billy Corrigan.
Mm-hmm.
Did you wrestle when Bruce owned it, or?
I wrestled with when Bob Trowbridge was president, and then further back into like when Jim Miller and Richard Arthur were president and Bill Barron.
Yeah, I know.
And then
Bill is.
I was involved in the transition period when Bruce bought it or got power there. And Bruce and we have a good relationship, but I never ended up working for him. We still talk every now and then though.
I understand he still owns the footage from part of the NWA.
I think he may have that Bosch library. I'm not sure.
Oh man, I
Jim's
would love to see that.
Jim's a lot more old school. I'm a little bit younger, so I'm a '90s guy. So I grew up with the Attitude Era and into the current stuff. So I'm all about like the old '90s guys and
Yeah.
Kane, Undertaker. I liked all those old days back then, and Jim knows more of the more of your circuit. With New Japan and all those other smaller promoters.
New Japan ain't small, man.
Well, not small, but I mean compared to like I was brought up on mainstream. Like if it wasn't on TV, I didn't watch it, so to speak. Where Jim knew a lot more about a lot of smaller promotions and
that's Chance. That's an inside
days.
joke that we pop up on every show. That's Razor Stallone.
Hey yo.
Or Stallone Code Steve Austin.
That's funny.
But yeah, I heard there was a situation. I don't know if you can speak on this or not. With, and you can just say no comment. We'll go past this, but you wrestled Colt Cabana, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And you also wrestled Adam Pearce, who is now like a unofficial GM for WWE.
Yeah, good friend of mine.
There was a situation with the World Heavyweight title when those two were going back and forth. Were you ever around that situation, or?
I was privy to a lot of information that I won't talk about, because I was also a webmaster for the NWA during that period of time too.
Okay, I can respect that. I think it was 7. Yeah, there you go. I think it was 7 stages of hell. Is it 7 stages of hell?
Yeah.
That they had 7 matches, and at the end, now I saw the behind the scenes of what people were saying regarding that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted your perspective of that. Is there anything you can comment on, or is there anything you prefer not to comment on when it comes to that?
If they would have let them run, like they showed what they could really do with that program. If they would have let them run it as long as they really wanted to, and done a little bit more, the NWA would have got a heck of a lot more press than it did. And they were workhorses, willing to put in the time, put in the blood, the sweat, the tears. And Adam and Colt are true professionals. I don't understand how they could not see the value in those two being at the head. So I'm comfortable saying that.
Have they ever wanted to put the big gold on you?
I was supposed to have that 3 times, and for whatever reason, I was also supposed to have a program with Danielson back when they were during my first national title run. It was after he'd been released from WWE when he was part of Nexus. He was in the I can't remember the name of the tournament, but it was him, Claudio Castagnoli, Mike Quackenbush, Pierce, I think Sheik. It was a really, really crazy tournament. After that, it was supposed to end up being a back and forth with me and Danielson, as me as national champion, he is world champion. But that just did not happen because of injury. I ended up having my leg shattered, and Danielson had an orbital cracked from Morishima at the Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. So both of us were out of it. But yeah, I was supposed to, from what I was told, I was supposed to have at least 3 reigns, which is just such a bummer, but crazy.
You've had some injuries, and I've talked to I talked to a wrestler. As a matter of fact, it was our last interview with Cyrus the Destroyer. I don't know if you're familiar with Cyrus's work.
Mm-hmm.
he, I don't know if you can confirm this or not. He said it's not when an injury is going to happen. It's not if an injury is going to happen. It's when an injury is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you've had some injuries, some
Mhm.
good ones. What kind of injuries have you had, and how long was the recuperated time?
So I didn't know that I actually came into wrestling with injuries pre-existing. I was an amateur wrestling in high school, and what I was told is that I tore my meniscus. But actually, what I did was completely obliterate my ACL and PCL. But they didn't see it because there was nothing to see. It was just all busted up. This was in 1997. So I started wrestling in '99. And about every 3 to 4 years, my knee would start buckling on me and going out, and I'd go get it checked. And I said, "No, it's just your meniscus. It's just your meniscus." And then finally, in 2019, I had another MRI, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have an ACL or a PCL." I'm like, "What?" So they gave me a grafts, transplanted some cadaver grafts in there, so I've got that now. I shattered my ankle in a match, national title defense, my first reign, shattered it in 7 places, and then they had to screw that together. It was supposed to be about a year that I'd be out. It only took me 6 months, which if they tell you it's going to be a year and they say you're good to go, still take your time, if I could tell anybody that. And then I broke my thumb, clotheslining a guy out over the top Mick Foley style. He landed on me instead of going one way. He landed on me, and I've broken every digit like multiple times. I fractured my neck in training, like the second vertebrae up. Broke my nose multiple times. Very flexible. Trying to think. That's a lot. Like, I think I cracked my heels a couple times till I learned, put your feet flat, put your feet flat, put your feet flat. But
Now, can we just get a graph maybe and compare you to see how many injuries between you and Mick Foley you might have gotten here?
I know, like when he showed that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can identify with him.
I mean, he's been through a lot too. I've read a couple of his books, but
there's no reason why that man could even walk right now.
Well, he's practically hunched over, crippled.
I believe it was Ric Flair that told him back in his early days. I think it was him that said, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be in a wheelchair. And he pretty much kind of said, I think he kept pushing it, and today he's still walking, surprisingly. But
yeah, well, I had a similar conversation with Matt Cross just recently, because he still maintains the same type of style that he started out doing, like extreme high spots, crazy stuff all over the place. And we were just talking. I said, "How long have you been wrestling now?" He said, 22 years. I said, "I remember what those old timers told you. Like, if you keep doing that stuff, you won't be in this business long, kid." He's still doing the same level of competition that he did, like when he first started. And I had Abdullah the Butcher tell me the same thing on one of my first matches away from home. He was in the back, and he was watching our matches, which was really cool. That he would take the time to watch our matches, and he said, "You did good out there, kid, but if you keep bumping high like that, you're going to be crippled by the time you're like 28."
One of the secrets that I have heard and understand from some of these older wrestlers that still get in the ring on occasion, you ask them, how you not get gassed out, and they say, stand in the ring and let the other guy do all the work. They go at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my next question, and this is a tough one. When is Chance Prophet going to hang up the boots?
I'm not going to pretend like I'm not talking to like in that conversation right now. Recovery takes a lot more. I got put through a door yesterday in a match, so I'm feeling it today. But I've always told everyone I will never say that I'm going to retire, because then somebody will offer me a booking and I'll come right back out of it. I'll just say, if you don't see me around, you know what happened. I quit or I walked away. Um, Realistically, I would say maybe 5 more years, 10, if God says to keep going. But 5 maybe. It's a hard maybe too.
Well, wrestling has given you a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And I know I've been in and around the business. I know the old hot dog and a handshake.
Oh yeah.
But somebody of your caliber and the years, and I'm not asking a certain amount, but I'm guessing that you do okay.
I do okay. Yeah.
Well, that's the most important thing, is you do okay. Would you consider, because I've heard this terminology and I don't really care for this terminology, would you consider wrestlers glorified stuntmen?
No, because they get better. They get better pay, and they get a SAG card and have insurance.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
I've got a couple friends that transitioned from being wrestlers to stuntmen, and they make a whole lot more than what we do, and have it a little bit better. So
the indie scene is not, is not as great as it once was. Wrestling has its highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to see the independent scene go going forward?
I'd love to see people start realizing if they could pool resources together, if they could get a pool of like the guys that want to have their own promotion, instead realize, hey, if we pool our money together and pool like what you have to bring to the table and what connections you have, to see how they can really make a bigger dent in the wrestling economy. We just had an event yesterday, the one that I was talking about, where I went through a door, where we had four different promotions represented on the card, and it was great, and the guys got along. The promoters had no issue, and everyone walked away with money, and most importantly, they got to present their product to a bigger audience, which makes more people want to come out and see what we do.
Now, go ahead, Jim. No, I was just going to say, so I know you said obviously you wouldn't really ever say that you're ready to retire, but being that you have your own training school now and things, would you say it would basically your career's kind of coming full circle? So even if you were to, let's just say, slow down on, being booked and doing matches, you're kind of able to put more focus into helping all the younger guys that are coming up, giving them a lot of knowledge that you've learned over the years, and put that kind of energy kind of towards helping build up these newer guys that are coming into the scenery, and, rather than worrying about kind of constantly be on tour with yourself. You know what I mean? Like taking some of your knowledge and slowing down from the wrestling circuit, but putting that energy into helping these new guys who can learn basically what you went through.
Yeah, and help them to avoid the mistakes. Everybody, and one of my students, he said that he put it in context, because I get frustrated because I'll teach them and tell them and warn them, and they still have to go out and make their own mistakes. And he said, some people just, have to have that, experience for themselves. They have to go through the mistake in order to learn. He's like, but I appreciate that you actually warn me and tell me and let me know that I don't have to do the same stuff that you went through. And that's what it's all about. Like at the end of it, if you can give back and make it better than when you came in, then you're really doing the business a service, because the business doesn't know any of us anything. We're the ones wanting to be a part of it.
And Cyrus said it the best last month when we interviewed him. He said it the best, is that when you get done with a match, you don't go around basically, in his eyes, you don't go, well, how was my match? How did I do? He's always wondering what he didn't do or what he did wrong,
right?
Because that helps build your character and build you as a wrestler up, if you can just focus on the stuff that you need to work on rather than what actually looked good.
Yep, leave it better than you found it is 100%. That's my motto. Uh, if you're not leaving it better than you found it, then why are you doing it? Like you're just trying to get over for the sake of people. We all want to be over, but if you can't help other people do better than what you did, then like I had a really great group of people that didn't have to slow down and step in and give me knowledge. Even from the time where my trainer picked me up when I was doing what were glorified backyard shows in front of people, he said, if you stop that crap right there, I'll take you on the road and train you the right way. And he did, and he was being in with guys like Joey Morton out of Beckley area, who was trained by George South, who was trained by Italian Stallion. They would go on the road, and we would have people like Carino, Steve Carino would be around, Chris Hamrick, Ricky Morton, all just stop, and they were booked for the show. They didn't have to help us out, but they did anyway because they wanted everything to be better.
Now, did you be in that? Obviously, like I said, you've been wrestling a long time, and you are a minister, and you have obviously a lot of religious beliefs. Have you ever run into a problem where because everybody has their own beliefs, everybody believes, you know what I mean? It's to each their own. But have you ever run into a problem where somebody else maybe on the circuit was wrestling, and let's just say, for an instance, they found out you were a minister, but they don't believe in stuff like that. Do you ever have an issue where somebody wouldn't work with you because they knew what you did pretty much outside of the ring, I guess I could say, to affect that?
Not really. And like one of the funniest things that ever came out of people knowing that I'm a minister, a good friend of mine, TJ Phillips, he's a full, I don't know, card carrying Satanist, like full on Satanist. I love him to death. And we entered into the same show, and I think we were working at each other that night. And we've been friends for going on 20 years. Walked right in, everybody was like, because they just found out about me being ordained, and me and TJ just up and hug each other, telling each other how much we love each other, and like it's wrestling's so weird that like most of the problems that the world goes through, if you're a quality human being, people don't care. Like as long as I think that's part of the trust that we develop with each other. If you take care of me, I'll take care of you. A lot of that stuff that I have to deal with people in the real world, I don't have to deal with that in the wrestling world because people are way more open.
Because you're all there to help each other grow and get better. You're not, so to speak. You have occasionally those people that are, they let their ego go higher than themselves. But like from a couple other people I've talked to, in the wrestling world, even though you guys could be feuding behind the scenes, you're all there to help each other out in some way to pick each other up.
Yeah. Some of my best feuds became my best friends. And some people are going through way more than I ever went through. And even though they don't believe, they'll still come to me and say, hey, man, can you at least pray? Even though they think they equate it to like put some energy towards like what I'm going through. They still come to me, so like it supersedes a lot of the stuff that I've gone through in my life.
Well, Chance, let me ask you. You've talked about people like Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, Sting, Abyss. I hear you got chokeslammed by Sid Vicious.
Sure did. I bounced like a speedball.
No, was that an honor or what?
That was hilarious. Not just for like the lead in. They were like, "Hey, Sid's going to be running in and attacking Bobby Eaton. Who wants to get powerbombed?" I just shot my hand up, like, "I'll do it."
Me.
Said that the powerbomb was cool. That what happened beforehand when he gave me a couple of shots, he dislocated my jaw. I didn't know about it, and just because he's got these frying pan hands, and he came across, smacked me in the face. I get in the back, and I'm just sitting there like, that was so awesome, because the crowd went nuts. I was just like, man, that was so crazy. This is so cool. Da 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 da. And Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond from ECW, was in the background. He's like, "Kid, you just gotta stop." I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was marking out that hard." He's like, "No, you're talking, and while you're talking, your mouth's going like this." And I went, "Oh," and just popped it in, and but like that was one of the best experiences of my life. But it just it was crazy. It was just like, this is why I got into wrestling, for these memories. It's so hilarious, but so cool.
Now, what circuit was that in when Sid did that, or when you volunteered?
SWA. I'd wrestled on the night. I was in a match with, I think, Kirby Mack, and I can't remember another guy. But it was just one of those things. That I was getting there. I was gearing down, like, hey, he's going to run in and beat down Bobby Eaton. I'm like, I'll go save Bobby Eaton's life. And yeah.
Well, Chance, we want to thank you for joining us. It's an absolute honor. Like I say, I watch your matches constantly, but I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you are interested in becoming a pro wrestler, check out Power Slam Professional Wrestling. You know, you could don't play the part, learn the art. Chance will help you out. You know, you can get in contact with him there. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more interviews like this, Chance, we want to thank you. Stay backstage.
Thank you.
Stay backstage when we're done here, and you know, we usually chat it up afterwards.
Yes, sir.
Or if you know somebody that would like to come on and be interviewed, check us out at wearenerdcast.com. That'll link us right to our YouTube, and you can find everything you need to know right there.
You should hit this guy up. You should hit this guy up. The ageless one, Caprice Coleman. That would be a good one. He's another minister too.
Okay, I will definitely check him out.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. For Andy O, I'm Jim Rogers, and this is PWJ Fix, where your fix is not drugs, your fix is the wrestling business.